our today's event. It is the first and serious step within the framework of actual accession of Russia in OGP. Without further delay, I would like to invite our main keynote speakers today, Mikhail Abizov, Minister on questions of open government of the Russian Federation, and the head of World Bank office in Russia, Mr. Rudkovsky, since Mikhail Abizov still has to attend the meeting of the Russian Federation. He is combining open government with actual government. I would like, without further delay, to give him the floor. Good morning, dear friends and colleagues. It is a pleasure to welcome you here at the second day of the Open Government Conference. Yesterday's meetings that were devoted to the questions of open government at the regional level, open government, open regions, did not disappoint the participants. I would like once again to thank the government of the city of Moscow, Ms. Anastasia Rakova and the entire team for the wonderful presentations that yesterday were shown to the participants in the conference, for the exchange of experience that was organized, and for the results of the work achieved by Moscow in terms of open government, which are aimed at the development of public and social life in the city of Moscow and the quality improvement of municipal services. It is important. It is felt by the citizens, and the example shown by the capital to the regions. A positive example is always important. I would like to point out the following. I've agreed with the participants in the conference, with the organizers of the conference, who suggested that we should have an additional aspect of our work, which involves not only the discussion of the experience, but also the development of proposals. In this respect, I would like our today's conference to prepare some kind of proposals, this, so to speak, a product or a result of our today's discussion that we would be able to start implementing within the framework of the Open Government project starting tomorrow. It is very important, and it is extremely important today, during the day, today, together with our international colleagues, with the World Bank, who is a co-sponsor of our conference, to discuss the international experience, among other things. Today, the family of open governments and the open government partnership in the international arena has about 50 countries. It so happened that today the state visit by the president of Brazil in the Russian Federation is taking place. They were one of the authors of international partnership, OGP, and they were presiding in the OGP, and our evening session will be attended, the second half of the day will be attended by our Brazilian colleagues who are part of the Brazilian team during the state visit and will have a chance to exchange experience. It gives me great pleasure that today we are planning to sign an agreement with one of the Russian regions, who, among other things, among other areas, defines the cooperation of the World Bank with Russian regions in development of instruments and mechanisms of open government. It is also important because we have a fine library of experience, the possibility to integrate international practice in the area of Russian government. It is very important that the World Bank is starting this work, especially in such a sensitive field as housing development in Ulyanovsk Oblast, where they will be developing certain projects of feedback in the housing area, in the government services, and also questions related to the open region, open government. I think this experience, I hope this experience will prove to be positive and will allow us to implement the projects of the World Bank in other regions too. All that has been done in other areas until now was quite successful, and I wish you every success in implementing this new area, this new project in the Russian Federation. This, in a nutshell, is the agenda that we have drafted for the participants of the conference to work in our three modules. First, master classes. Second, the brainstorm, and then the evening plenary meeting on the results of the discussion. I will be extremely obliged if you let the organizers of all the panels to present their specific proposals at the plenary meeting. The committee of the conference will join them together and into a single document, and will be able to discuss these results during the plenary meeting. And then, of course, the proposals that we are going to adopt as a program of our action for the future. I would like to welcome you all again, once again, with the acting government, active government. Thank you, Mikhail. This is an example of how to organize open government, to make a shortcut in discussion, what you discuss in open government, and channel it to the actual government. Second, Mikhail, who is representing World Bank, I just wanted to say that World Bank, from the beginning, from the outset of the project, was very actively involved in it. Mikhail's colleagues from the Moscow office and from European office started discussing the possibility of cooperation from the very first weeks of the open government project in Russia. It gives me great pleasure to remember that I had the chance to cooperate with them from the early stages. The World Bank has a wealth of experience in taking part in this kind of programs. Not only the also programs in open data, facilitating regional level activities. One of the regions, Ulyanovsk Oblast, who is at the forefront of this activity and has been cooperating with the World Bank for a long time. signed an agreement with the World Bank. It's high time for the city on the banks of the Volga to show some pleasant example. The floor is yours. Thank you very much. I will speak English.
To say that I'm very grateful for this invitation and would like to share a few reflections with you on the side of the World Bank. And first thing I wanted to say is that I think we are all in the bank extremely impressed by what's happening in Russia with respect to the open government. What I see, I would call actually a movement or a family, because it's more than just one event, it's a sustained effort, and this sustained effort translates into actions of others through various venues and various events. We have this big day today, but yesterday and tomorrow there is a whole series of events in which in different fora we are trying to deepen the open government agenda. It seems to me that from among the reforms in the world that really matter those days, that are a sign of times, open government is one of them. The potential of open government goes far beyond the issues of transparency. It reaches out towards the investment climate, productivity, growth, and jobs. This should be seen as almost a productive factor that influences well-being of the citizens in the long run. And what is particularly impressive in this effort in Russia is the holistic approach. It is an effort at different levels. It is an effort at the federal level, and we are very happy to be in touch with Mr. Abezov, Minister Abezov. But it is so impressive that so many regions of Russia embrace the agenda and put forward own programs of deepening the open government agenda. And indeed, we are very, very happy to sign an agreement with the Ulyanovsk Oblast, and we'd be very happy to help anybody, work with anybody who would need us. As Minister Abezov said, I think the way we can help is by bringing international experience, and also today among the guests of this conference there are people among the experts who we brought to you who have long outstanding experience in the area of open government in different countries in the world, and whenever needed we will be very happy to bring this expertise to you. So one impressive aspect is the fact that it happens at so many levels in Russia. The other is this deep understanding that open government goes far beyond the issues of transparency, that everybody understands what's going on in the government, that it goes into active sharing of the government works, it goes into receiving feedback on what the government has been doing, but goes far beyond that, trying to end with active engagement and co-creation of citizens, of think tanks, of academia, of all the civil society organizations, so that there is, at the end of the day, a joint movement involving all the partners. I think I probably should also say that I think it may be useful for those of you who weren't in our office yesterday, just to mention that work on the open government, helping you with your efforts, it really is very much a part of the strategy of partnership with the Russian Federation, which we have in the World Bank for the next 5 years. Improving the quality of public governance is a very important cornerstone of this strategy, and at this point in time, open government is one of the crucial aspects of the improvement of the quality of public governance. I think I should end by wishing you a very productive day. I know that you have actually innovative ways of approaching the topic through, for instance, master classes, but also you have different type of engaging together. I would like to wish you a lot of collective intelligence, a lot of outcomes that would exceed what you expected when you came here this morning for the benefit of Russia at the federal level and in all the regions you came from. Thank you very much indeed.
Спасибо, Михаил. Thank you, Michael.
Теперь
Now I believe that the main event of today is the first master classes and then brainstorming, because taking into account the work which has been already done, we may add and enrich our national plan of Russia accession to OGE and OGP. We will discuss it with our partners and colleagues of this process. Within the framework of open government, the problem of open data is one of the key problems, and the access to it must be open to large strata of population, because open data, this is information basis for the existence of any project of open government, and the knowledge makes it possible for the population to make correct conclusions and understand what they should do for the state. And I would like to pass the floor for the presentation of his or her panel on the first group on open panel. This is Andrew Scott, the representative of Great Britain, who over many years was dealing with open data, and Inna Barchevsky, who is a representative of Great Britain, and Jim Hall. She is also brought open data to a outer space level, because she is the employee of NASA. You are welcome.
Right. Thanks. As you see, we've got a formidable team. I think we'll each introduce ourselves. And,
please be seated. I think it will be more comfortable for everybody.
Okay. We'll introduce ourselves and talk about what we're going to bring to the masterclass. I'm Andrew Stott from the United Kingdom. I think I sort of empathize with many in the Russian government today, because 4 years ago I was very much in the same position. I was a senior official in the British Civil Service for 30 years, and for 30 years everything I did was an official secret. Seriously, literally, even the number of cups of tea that we drank in the office was an official secret. And then 4 years ago, things changed. First, I was appointed to increase the government's use of social media to engage with the public. And I was termed in the newspapers the government's Twitter bureaucrat, or known as the Twittercrat. That was shock enough. And then about 4 years ago, a memorandum arrived from the Prime Minister's office, the United Kingdom Prime Minister's office. And it basically said, the Prime Minister has heard about something called open data. He's not sure what this open data thing is, but he thinks we should be doing some of it. So could you send us a project proposal for an open data project with plans, targets, a budget requirement, and what could you do within the next 6 months on open data? And there's no particular hurry about doing this plan. If you can do it by 5 o'clock this afternoon, that would be fine. So I sat down and just wrote the plan for what 6 months later became data.gov.uk, which was one of the first national open data portals. We collected some data, and ever since that's been a sort of magnet, and we've grown it incrementally. It started small, there were some faults in it to start with, there still are some faults in it, but we've just continually grown that, and that's become a magnet for open data in the UK. And so in my part of our talk, I'm going to be talking about that experience, the lessons I learned along the way that open data doesn't know what it's for. Data does not know its purpose. So data that we're publishing for open government has been picked up by business. New businesses have grown up using open data. Open data is used to help improve public services, to empower citizens to work actually with central ministries to improve hospitals and schools and police forces at local levels. And I'll be giving some examples of that. And I'll also be talking about the open data ecosystem, what we had to do in the United Kingdom to ensure people use the data. Because the value of data is when it's used. And government's role is to publish the data, but it also has to help people use that data. And so that's my part. And then I think Irina next.
Okay. Is my microphone on? Здравствуйте. Я Ирина Александровна Получевская. Я тоже буду говорить по-английски. I work for the Open Knowledge Foundation, which is a not-for-profit that focuses on promoting and enabling openness within government and organizations. I lead up the team on CCAN, which is a technological open data portal platform that powers data.gov.uk. So I work very closely with the Cabinet Office for their new release in terms of enabling a central portal for open data dissemination, and now work with the US government as well. So in my talk, I'll be basically going over what different governments have done in terms of implementing an open data portal, the features that a portal can bring you, and the way that it can enable and improve the process for actually managing your data and encouraging people to reuse it.
I'm Jean Holm. I'm the evangelist for open data in the US government. I've been at NASA, the space agency, for 30 years, where I've worked on open data issues as well as knowledge management and collaboration throughout the space agency. I've also had a long history of working with the Russian space agency and a lot of work on disaster management and data around that as well. What I'll be sharing today is what we're doing, kind of building on what Andrew talked about, the policies and issues and the challenge in starting an open data project. And Andrew and I well understand those challenges. Our little data.gov in the United States started out with 47 data sets, so you can start small. We have grown now to over 400,000 data sets with 180 different government agencies publishing there. So we have learned a lot in our journey, and that's what we'll be sharing with you today, particularly around the area of building communities and bringing in developers and businesses, being able to actually show economic success with the release of data from the government, and how that transparency can engage citizens and help them to have a voice as well. So we invite you to join us with our Open Data Workshop today and our masterclass.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind, I want to ask you to give you some advice, if it is possible, because we examined before the ideas of Russian population, what is the more interesting in their everyday life connecting with open data. And the polls which we have organized here demonstrate us that there are 4 spheres of the most interesting for Russian citizens. They are utilities, education, medicine, and crime level. I know that you have very interesting experience in your countries because we examined the situation with open data for hospitals, schools in US, in UK, the same as the maps of the crime level and the crime indicator in various districts. And it will be very useful if you gave recommendations how it can be organized here in our country. Thank you so much. Я хотел бы еще раз обратить внимание, что мероприятие...
I'd like to pay your attention once again that the events will be held on the 2nd floor, and I would like to pass the floor to Susan Lonti on new forms of state governance. Susan. Susan, she has very interesting experience in 2 countries, which are one of the leaders in open government business. for the citizens of New Zealand and Canada. I must say that when our subgroup on study of this international experience, well, in New Zealand and Canada, and alongside with UK, they were one of the leaders of this process. Susan, you have the floor.
So I do not speak Russian, but I understand a little bit. So I understood that you told a couple of things about me, about my past. Right now, I work at the OECD, and I'm responsible for one of the biggest data sets that we are collecting about the work and the performance of government. So I am also a data creator in a way, and also a data user, because the data that we are using is coming from the countries. And one of the areas that we are studying is actually the different aspects of open government. And we are doing it for a very long time, considering hearing the experiences when people started. We published the first work in the early 2000s, 2002 around. But we looked at in a silo mentality as it was before. So we worked on citizen participation, we worked on e-government, we worked on integrity in government, we worked on transparency in government and the different aspects. And to some extent, even up today, we are collecting data on all these aspects of open government. But to that, we also added now the open government as a bigger concept, and this also shows the thinking, yeah, that these were all separate areas and how they are now joined together to become one big concept, this open government concept. And what I was asked to talk about is an element of open government which is called crowdsourcing, and this is very closely related to basically citizen participation, citizen engagement. How do you get the opinions of citizens on policies, on regulation, on practices, on services, on every element of what government is doing? Because very often, for example, yesterday, I heard talking about citizen participation in the services that they receive. But the services are the result of lots of work that government is doing. So citizens should be part and parcel of that as well. So you said that health is a very important part, and obviously we are very interested in how doctors are performing and how hospitals are performing, but we are also very interested in the policies of government, of what kind of medication or what kind of techniques they will allow in the health sector and how will they kind of ration it, yeah? We have to have a say in that as well. So what I just want to show that this is a huge area that covers every aspect of government work. In my presentation, what I will do is first talk about a little bit about the history of open government, also about the OGP, what it is and how we see this. And then I will also show you the work of OECD, that is the organization of 34 countries for economic development. And Russia is in an accession process to the OECD, so you would like to join our organization. And I would also show some data on the different aspects of open government, how it is evolving in these 34 countries. And then I will turn to crowdsourcing as a new form of citizen participation and show you examples of innovations from this field that we are also collecting. We have a huge data set that we are setting up about innovations in all parts of governance, and the open government is one part of it. So from that set, I will show some examples of how open government is evolving. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope that your section also will be very useful for all the participants and it will be fruitful. Thank you. Я хотел бы напомнить, что
I would like to remind you that this section will be held on the second floor. The next section, which will be headed by Jeff Kaplan. And Jeff Kaplan, this is the involvement of citizenship into civilian initiatives. Jeff is a representative of the World Bank. He carried out many consultations in various countries, both in European and African, and I believe that this is one of the key sections because open government, this is a two-way street, and it requires the participation not only government but also this civic society, because this is the brain needs to know the brain of both bureaucrats and or officials and civilians. And we need to understand what various governmental services do. So the way we understand civic society will enable us to realize our projects, and this will help us in our partnership programs and government.
I thought first Katya and I would just introduce ourselves, and then we'll just say for just a minute or two what our masterclass is aiming to do. So as you heard, my name is Jeff Kaplan, and some of you who joined us yesterday have heard my introduction myself, but for those who have not. I work as a consultant with the World Bank, particularly in the area of open government. Our masterclass will focus on citizen engagement. So a lot of my work with a lot of countries that work with the bank on open government, almost all of it has an element of citizen engagement to it. So I've been with the bank for a few years now, and we work in, as you know, countries all over the world. That's the 2-second biography for me.
My name is Katya. My name is Katya Kantor, and I'm working at the World Bank as a consultant in the Social Development Department. And so we are looking at how you engage citizens, primarily in improving service delivery and decision making. And I'm very happy that I saw in your action plan you have a lot of activities on engaging people, specifically in improving service delivery and mechanisms for civic control over the performance of agencies and the service delivery and monitoring in general. So I'm also the Harvard Fellow at the Kennedy School for European region, where we also look at different strategies on how you can make more participation and inclusiveness from the social point of view of people in the administration of the government. And so our approach is to have an integrated presentation. So Jeff will say what that presentation will contain.
Right. So as I said, the masterclass in general is about citizen engagement. We're going to talk about sort of, based on our experience with a lot of projects in different countries, what are the ingredients of effective citizen engagement, why do it? That should seem an obvious question to many people, but actually in government it's not always an obvious question why to do citizen engagement. So we'll talk about the benefits of citizen engagement, obviously for citizens and the public, and businesses and civil society, but also for government itself. We'll look at examples of what great citizen engagement looks like. We will talk about some lessons learned that we've observed in a lot of different countries in different types of citizen engagement that are being implemented. And more importantly, or as importantly, our masterclass, what we'd like to do is to have it itself be an engagement. So it's not, we don't want you just listening to us. In fact, that's not the most interesting part. We're going to have a lot of time for everybody who joins our masterclass to sort of share and talk about citizen engagement. So we're going to engage with each other. We're going to practice a little citizen engagement ourselves. So we welcome all of you who are interested in this area to join us, and I'm sure we'll have a really interesting masterclass. And I guess they're each being run twice, so you have 2 chances to join us if you like.
And I wanted to say that citizen engagement is such a complex approach, and of course we'd like to say that the World Bank has this approach of bringing people together to cooperate on that. And I was glad that Minister Abizov mentioned that the World Bank is really bringing some value added to this, when it has this practice of how do we bring actors together to cooperate, in addition to this technological component, which actually brings the final result. And also, how do you start and how do you assess the environment around the citizen engagement? Because you need to look at a really checklist, or what do you have there, what's the local context that can be detrimental to the citizen engagement, or you need to do something to improve it. So all the holistic approach to that will be shown in our masterclass.
And sorry, just one other point I forgot to mention. For those of you who join us in our masterclass, we very much want to talk about sort of a lot of the citizen engagement that's already happening in Russia. It's not like it's not happening here. There's lots of it, of course. So we're looking forward to hearing from you about the things and the citizen engagement that you see, that you do yourselves, or that you'd be interested to do if it was the opportunity and ability to do it. So please, for those who come, be prepared to share and talk about that as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that it will be very interesting. I also want to mention just one thing, that Russian is not a blank list in this sphere, and we have also a lot of practice. Now here in the hall, Ivan Bechtin, who is one of the most outstanding representative of civil society and who made a lot from the part of civil society for the development such public sectors. Thank you so much. I hope it will be useful.
I would like to remind you that certain changes have been made in terms of the place, of the location. I'd like to turn your attention to the fact that Jeff's section will be held on the 4th floor. Now the floor is given to Megan Cook, expert development of complicated solutions.
I've been doing a lot of sitting, so I'm going to stand up, okay?
Maybe you'll be seated?
No. I can stand. You don't have to stand. I want to talk to you about who I am, where I'm from, and the master class that I will be presenting. My name is Megan Cook. I'm from the Center for Technology and Government at the University at Albany in New York in the United States. What we do is we work with government agencies to help them think through, understand their information management issues, problems, help develop solutions in a neutral environment, away from other actors where they can think through, work with business, talk to civil society, and be able to really understand what their problems are, and then develop a roadmap of how they're going to solve that. So I'm going to give you 2 quick stories to give you an idea of the projects that we do. The first one is not really open government, but it's a lot about business efficiency. And I think that's what I've heard people talk about here a little bit. It was the exploration of the use of mobile technologies for health and human services within an entire state. So as a think tank, the government came to us and we worked together to figure out how we determine how it changes the work, how it makes the work different, better, what processes need to change, what policies, what management structures, and then put in place and feedback through to the other districts so we could make change. So we work together hand in hand, but that's not an easy task. Collaboration is hard work, it's expensive, and it takes a certain set of skills. And so that one project is an example of how the government can work with think tanks and research centers, and we can talk more about that in the master class. The second one is related to open government. As the US federal government was moving towards opening government, putting out data sets, there was still some questions that were burning. Those questions centered around how does open government matter? We took our public value framework and morphed it into an operational tool for systematic planning in opening government. So now there's a way to look at public value, document it, and use that information in order to make decisions. So that's a project that we worked back and forth with government to really hone this tool and make it usable for government agencies. So those are two examples of 20 years of projects that we've done. We've really figured out what it takes to work with government, to work with civil society, to be the glue in the seams, to bring people together. And I'll share what I know. You can ask questions, propose different types of projects that you were thinking and how they may work. And I'm just looking forward to a really good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are very successful in tanks. I'm sure that we were also successful in think tanks too.
Thank you.
Следующая секция,
The next section, which is due to be held, is devoted to fighting corruption. It is my pleasure to introduce its head, Maria Spinelli, representative of Brazil. Brazil is one of the countries which is one of the co-sponsors of OGP, and Brazil, thanks to fighting corruption programs, was able to achieve great results, which in fact made Brazilian experience extremely important and very useful for the global scene. Mario, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mario Spinelli, and I am the National Secretary for Prevention Corruption in Brazil. First of all, I would like to congratulate the Russian government for having organized this conference and for having invited us. As I told you yesterday, Brazil and Russia have many similar things, many similar aspects. We are organizing a World Cup. We are organizing Olympic Games. Our countries are very, very big. And so I think that we have many things to discuss today. Brazil has the great honor of being one of the members in the steering committee in the Open Government Partnership, and we presided over the first mandate. For us, providing transparency and allowing citizens to participate is considered essential to enhance accountability and integrity. Today in our masterclass, I intend to discuss some things that we are developing in Brazil, some initiatives. I will talk about transparency portals. I will talk about OGP action plans. I will talk about engagement of citizens, about access to information requests, about barred companies, barred NGOs, and about many other things in our fight against corruption. I'd like to invite you to participate. It will be a very democratic masterclass, and it will be a pleasure to discuss these things with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you.
And the last but not the least section, open state governance in ministries, states, regions and cities. The floor is given to Mr. Eves and Chris Payne. We are moving ahead of schedule, so I suggest that after this presentation, we move to the sections at 12 p.m. sharp, but not at 12:15. This would allow us to save some time. Gentlemen, the floor is yours. Chris Payne and David Eves.
Okay.
We have enough of them.
Oh, yeah, we're going to stand too, if that's okay. Good morning. I am Chris Vian, and I am one of the newest employees at the World Bank. I started on Monday. And prior to starting at the bank, I was the Deputy United States Chief Technology Officer for Government Innovation. And in that role, was instrumental, actually drafted the first open government plan for the United States, and have been an active participant in the Open Government Partnership ever since. But the reason I think that I'm on this panel is because prior to joining the White House, I was the Chief Innovation Officer for the City and County of San Francisco, where I actually implemented in a local level many of the transparency, participation, and collaboration efforts that you see reflected in the United States plan. And I think it really is that interaction between the federal, state and local regions, the multi-level government that we are going to talk about today. Because there are so many opportunities when you start looking at the various levels of government and so many challenges that it's going to be an exciting class that I think we will, David and I, learn from each other, certainly learn from you, because there are best practices, but there is no one way to do this. There's theory, and then as you know, when you actually do something, theory usually goes out the window and you relearn every single time how to do it. So I look forward to seeing you in our class and really talking about how open government is implemented, what the strategies are, what the tools are, and what can be accomplished. David?
Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. My name is David Eves. I do not work for government. I'm kind of an independent troublemaker. And mostly what I do is I help governments think about how they should be doing open data and how they can be doing open government. I helped launch the City of Vancouver's Open Data Portal, which was the second municipal open data portal in the world. And since then, I've basically been advising governments. I think what Chris and I, as Chris has mentioned, no plan survives contact with the enemy. So any plan that you have around how to do open government and open data, as great as it's going to be, is going to need to change. And so I think what we want to talk a little bit about is why should we be doing this, but then also I think more deeply, what's some pragmatic approaches? How should you be thinking about the problem? How do you want to engage the problem? Who are the stakeholders that you need to bring on board, and how do you navigate and deal with them? And I think above all, Chris said, we'd like to learn from you. I'm very excited to hear what people are doing here in Russia. And above all, let's have some fun and a really good conversation. So I'm hoping that you'll come to our session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much. Now I think it's time to start work. Тогда я думаю, что в 12 часов.
So we are starting our works in sections at 12 p.m. sharp. I wish every success to all of you. I wish you a successful and very productive day so that we were able to arrive at very useful solutions. A lot of classic writers said that we have our tasks set, so let's launch our work.